Welcome to my very first devlog. I am starting programming from zero, so it is gonna be a ride. These devlogs will probably be quite sparse, as making them is taking away from the limited amount of time I have to actually make the game. I've never seen myself as the logical or mathematical type, so I never imagined I'd dare try programming, but here we are. I'm working on an idea me and my husband PicoFighter came up with a few years ago. He's currently busy with a game project of his own, so it's up to me to tackle this one. I think we came up with this idea during a Ludum Dare we did together, or shortly after it. The theme then was Harvest, and this didn't quite fit the theme or time limit. In the Ludum Dare project, the only thing I did was the art and the music, but it did spark an interest in making games. The game we made then was about a retired wizard who took up farming, but his crops kept coming alive. I'll link it in the description if you're intrigued. The idea we left for later was a hack and slash style game, where the main mechanic was trading your levels for magic, which would worsen your stats, and then you'd have to balance the two based on what playstyle you like. You could either have strong magic but be weak physically, or have weak magic but be strong physically with melee attacks, dashes, etc. That's still the main concept, but instead of just player levels, you'll have physical strength represented by different skills you can buy and level with experience points, and then different spells you can buy and level with experience points. I'm also considering a madness element. I think that learning magic should be taxing on the mind, so you'd have a skill element for that too that limits the amount of magic you can learn. But I'd like for you to be able to push past that if you want to, but then be affected by mage madness. For the experience points, I was thinking of adding souls-like elements. You would lose your experience points that you haven't yet traded for skills or magic when you die, but you can go and regain the experience if you go to the place you died before dying again. I don't want the typical bonfires for leveling and respawning though. I was thinking you could chop down trees in-game and put up your own fire to rest at, but you can only carry one set of logs at a time, and the trees you chop down in-game wouldn't respawn. Learning magic or skills would be done at these fires or resting places in towns, for example a tavern. So that's the concept. Now to actually develop it and make it into something. I decided on using the Godot game engine simply because that's the one PicoFighter is using, and I will be asking him for a ton of help and advice. I started my programming journey with GDQuest's Learn GDScript from Zero course. I think I understood it somewhat up to about halfway. Then it started to get really confusing. I couldn't complete the code exercises without hints, and often had to peek at the suggested answer before I could finish the exercise. Oh well, at least I tried. On to actually opening Godot. I've been following a bunch of different tutorials from a bunch of different people. A challenge has been making that make sense as a whole. It has mostly been me throwing together code that isn't quite compatible, and PicoFighter having to help me clean it up and Frankenstein it together. But I'll link tutorials I found useful in the description below, regardless. I've been struggling to learn and to actually apply knowledge, even with the help of PicoFighter, but it's slowly getting better. I'm a beginner when it comes to pixel art and animation, so I've decided to use mostly assets to begin with at least. I'll link the ones I've used in the description. I'm also debating whether I should draw generic things or not. I don't quite see the point in drawing my own tree when there's a perfectly good tree someone already made that I'm allowed to use. Of course, it would help me grow as a pixel artist and develop that skill, but it isn't my main goal here. The main goal is to create a game. The player character has gone through several redesigns. The character I've been showing you is the sprite base I drew at first. I got to the movement animation, but I couldn't for the life of me figure out how to animate a running character from a 3/4 back view. I ended up making the player character a simple slime to begin with so I wouldn't get too stuck on visuals. After getting the movement to work, I got back to the player character and used an excellent base by Bagon Games to help me figure out the animations. This character is what I settled on. I think originally I was thinking too big. This small sprite looks so much better. The character can now walk, run, and dash. They were a pain to set up and I needed a lot of help from PicoFighter. Character movement is smooth and fun though. I'm really proud of the dash visuals, even though the dash particles don't flip the correct way when dashing up or down. Yet. PicoFighter gave me the feedback that the walk is a bit unnecessary. Running should be the standard movement. Currently walking is the standard and you hold shift to run. An option could be to have running as the standard and holding control would make the player walk. The obvious problem area here is the complicated animation logic. This could perhaps be fixed by using an animation tree or a state machine, but it seems like those aren't compatible with the animated sprite 2D node. Please do correct me if I'm wrong. I'd very much like to be wrong on this. The attack animations are all good, but I haven't solved how to implement a hitbox yet, since the character faces different directions and the directions have different animations. Will I have to make different hitboxes for different attack directions and trigger them with a bunch of if statements? That sounds really complicated. I have a nice looking spell selection wheel that it's easy to add and remove spells to, but they are not yet tied to actual spells. I've only made this fire spell so far. Friends have suggested having a hotbar too for the spells, but I'm really attached to the idea of the spell selection wheel, and having both seems a bit unnecessary. Maybe I'll add a hotbar for items. The slime follows the player and attacks when the player gets within a certain range. The animations don't all work though, only the movement and the idle animations work. The attack animation refuses to trigger for some reason. The slime can be deleted with a spell attack, but actual damage and health are yet to be implemented. Last but not least, I have a basic pause menu. I think I'll probably update it later. Next I want to focus on making the player and enemy able to deal and take damage, make a healing spell, and design a first level or area. Unfortunately, time is sparse. I have a lot of other hobbies and responsibilities. I currently have a 10-month-old baby, and my maternity leave is ending in early April. Currently I've been working on this during baby's naps, in between other hobbies and chores, but that time slot will disappear when I go back to a full-time job. I'm aiming to make the next devlog when I've implemented combat, healing, and a first game area, but it might be a while. I'm thinking I'll work on the story as well. Currently the game has no real objective or plot. I can't code during downtime at my job, but I can definitely think about the game plot and objective. Thanks for watching. See you later.